Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste. Welcome to the course on Introduction to Human Resource Management. Human resource management as a function has evolved through many stages in last 150 years. If we look at the very early signs of the human resource management function in the business organizations or in the workshops and factories, we can look at the examples of the welfare offices, hiring offices, safety bureau, time offices. They were set up at the time of Industrial Revolution 1 and Industrial Revolution 2. These offices were mainly related to ensuring the safety measures or some of the important facilities important for the workers or employees in any organization. In 1900, hiring became, and it was recognized as a very important function, and for that hiring offices started to get established in factories, workshops and offices. In 30s, we see that as an aftermath of the Bolshevik revolution and emergence of the labor as a very powerful force in a society, we see the emergence of the trade unions. So, in the 30s, the job of dealing with the trade unions also fell in the lap of a function today which we call human resource management. There were some major changes and development in the form of introduction of equal opportunity regulation in 1960s. That was very important, that came as a very important responsibility of HR function, because now it was the very important duty of HR function to ensure that there is no discrimination in the recruitment process in offices, in factories and at workplace. In 70s, the strategic management and the concern for getting competitive advantage in the increasing globalizing world became a prominent concern. As a result of that, HR function, at that time it used to be called administrative function or industrial relation function or sometime called personnel management, for them it became an important responsibility to keep the employees engaged in their work and committed to their work and organization. That was the moment in the 70s. In between, behavioral science movement also played a very important role in emergence of human resource management function. We might remember that in the OB1, in the organization behavior or micro organization behavior course, you might have come across a very important and very famous experiment called Hawthorne experiment. With the Hawthorne experiment conducted under the leadership of Elton Mayo, we came to know the importance of relationship, importance of giving autonomy, importance of giving facility, and importance, most importantly, importance of giving attention to the employees. And that was a significant landmark step in the movement called human relation movement, which emphasized on the humane aspect related to relationship, aspect related to care, concern and attention, and their importance at workplace, because those were found to be very significantly affecting the productivity of the employees. From Elton Mayo, we have the work of Maslow, who worked on the motivation, Argyres who worked on the learning, Hertzberg who again gave hygiene motivating and hygiene factors of motivation. These were the important thinkers who influenced in the 60s. These were the important thinkers who influenced the emergence of human resource management in 1960s. Application of the behavioral sciences and the tools and techniques emerging from that is the basis of organization development. The field of organization development, though it started with the path breaking work of Kurt Lewin, who looked at the who systematically studied the group dynamics in the National Training Laboratory and the Group Dynamics Center, but Bennis systematized the field of organization development, and that also contributed immensely in the development of human resource management function. In the mid 70s, Flemholtz started a significant process of bringing human resources under the ambit of some form of accounting. It was not typical financial accounting, but but the Flemholtz effort was aimed at giving the monetary value to the human resources. After Flemholtz, after the work of Flemholtz, there were many other human resource accounting model developed, like Chow and Lai model or Jaggi model of human resource accounting, but that also gave a push to look at the human resource management function and their impact in more tangible ways. So, this is how the emergence of human resource management function has come to the current stage, which is actually a combination of the personal management, strategy HRM connection, administrative function of the business organizations, and industrial relations. We need to understand what is the meaning of strategic perspective of HRM, because of late strategic perspective of HRM has gained a significant currency, and in fact the importance and the contribution of HRM is now expressed in the form of strategic benefit or strategic advantage. So, we will look at the strategic advantage and the strategic benefits of the HR function and how to examine that more and how the strategy and HR are closely connected. But before that, we need to understand what are the other different roles HR function can take up in different organizations or in the same organization, maybe in the different stages of its development. This typology was given by Ulrich. What he suggested that HR function can have very operational focus and it can have a strategic focus. HR function can also have more emphasis on the people and can have more concern for people, or it can gear up more to sustain and maintain the system in organization. At the cross section of these two continuum, we get 4 roles of HR function. What are those roles? First of these roles can be called administrative expert. The administrative expert role of HR is the combination of the focus of HR function on creating system and having operational focus. Employee champion role emerges with the combination of the focus on the people or concern for people and maintaining the focus at the operational aspects of business. Operational aspects are more related to efficiency and strategic aspect are more related to effectiveness. Operational focus or operational aspects are related to more related to short term objectives, and strategic focus or strategic concerns are more related to long term objectives. At the cross section of strategic focus and people focus, we get another role of HR, which is called change agent. Importance of HR in terms of preparing organization to meet its strategic objective, we see the role of change agent. Change agent as a HR function, as a change agent, focuses on the development of people to embrace the change, to innovate, to change their behavior, to build the new knowledge base, to meet the new challenges emerging in the business environment. Fourth role is called strategic partner. Strategic partner role of HR emerges at the cross section of strategic focus and system focus. HR function as a strategic partner looks at the long term objectives of the business organization. In fact, it geared up to achieve the business objectives in the medium and long term, and accordingly it takes the stance. Policies and processes of HR are defined, designed and implemented in view of the medium and long term focus, and with the objective of developing and maintaining systems and processes within the organization. So, we come across these four roles of HR. Which one do you think is the most important role? The answer is no one role is the most important role. At different stages of the organization life cycle and according to the demand of environment, different roles can be more sought after in business organizations. For example, in the very beginning, when an organization is just setting up a HR function to manage its personnel, they need to identify processes, systems and make rules and regulations. In that stage, administrative expert role is more important. As organization grows, many a time rules and regulations become obstacle on the pathway to give best by their employees. In that situation, HR has to come to the forefront and take care of the employees, and it has to champion the cause of the employees. That time employee champion role becomes very prominent and very important. When organization has been set up, when the function, when the operations have begun, and organization is looking at the long term of meeting the long term objectives, it is aiming at getting the competitive advantage, or it is aiming at harnessing its competitive advantage. When it is aiming at coming ahead of the competition in the market, then HR has to support the business by being a strategic partner. As a strategic partner, they need to help the business to translate the long term objectives into HR processes and systems. They also have to develop the HR processes and system which can help the business to achieve its long term objectives. They need to develop systems and processes so that the transaction cost involved in the day to day transaction of between the employer and employees can come down, and they help in making the organization a solid, well functioning, well oiled machinery which can move towards the desirable objective. That role is played by the strategic partner. In the process of development, in the process of functioning, an organization can achieve its objective, can grow, but all organizations meet roadblocks or they face competition. Many a time their functioning become less efficient, and many a time organizations are not able to cope up with the changes in the technological, political, social or global environment or business environment. In order to make the organization cope up the challenges and to regain or gain its efficiency and effectiveness, HR has to play the role of change agent. In the role of change agent, they need to help the leadership to develop. They also need to help the business leadership to prepare their employees, prepare their team members to look at the challenges, to understand the challenges and meet those challenges with full vigor and employ the most optimum competency to regain or gain the competitive advantage. So, you can see that according to the business environment and according to the life stage of the organization, the role of HR can change from a strategic partner to change agent to administrative expert to employee champion. Ideally, HR has to play all the roles at the same time. In last few years, at least in particularly in 2 decades, the HRM function has transitioned and is supposed to transition from being reactive to proactive. That means, they may not keep looking at the lagging indicators, they need to look at the leading indicators and proactively suggest the ways of enhancing productivity or enhancing the engagement of the employees to the management, to the business leader more proactively. HR cannot just remain prescriptive, they need to actually set up the systems and processes and help the business to set up the systems and processes according to the nature of the people working in the organization. HR function has to also transition from being administrative, where the job is more giving instruction, to executive, where the job of HR function is more hands on, wherein they look at the systems and processes and work in close contact with the other functions of organization. Now, we will look at the strategic human resource management, because it is closely connected to HR function. To understand the strategic management, we must first look at what is strategy. The word strategy originates from strategos, that means a general who organizes, leads and directs his forces to the most advantageous position. So, the main emphasis of strategy is to enable an organization to achieve a competitive advantage with its unique capabilities by focusing on present and future direction of the organization. In a classical strategic management process, we start with establishing a mission statement. What is the mission statement? Mission statement is the statement of the reason for the organization to exist. Here we must distinguish mission statement and vision statement as well. Mission statement is the statement of the reason to exist, wherein vision statement is about how an organization sees itself in the long term. Vision may not get implemented in the near future or even foreseeable future. Vision by definition has to be inspiring. Mission also has to be inspiring, but this gives the reason for existence, and it is related to and mission is more related to regular engagement of the organization with its various stakeholders. So, after establishing mission and vision statement, organization need to keep analyzing the external environment. They need to conduct an internal organizational analysis. Many of you must have come across terms like SWOT analysis or BCG matrix or G 3x3 matrix or McKinsey's 7S framework. These are some of the examples of doing internal organizational analysis. Based on the internal organizational analysis, we set the specific goals. Goal setting thing got a setting a specific goal has been understood very well in the movement of management by objective. The movement was started by Peter Drucker in 60s and 50s. There was lot of emphasis on mutual goal setting, translating the strategic goals into the operational goals and translating the organizational operational goals to the departmental goals and so on and so forth at the level of employees, and that has to be done with the mutual agreement and negotiation between the different levels of organization, different hierarchical levels of the organization. So, after doing the organizational analysis, business organization need to set the specific goals, then examining the possible strategic choices. A thing cannot be called strategy if that does not involve choice. There has to be certain choices for a disposition to be called a strategy. What are those most general, what are the most prominent choices a business organization faces? We are going to look at in a short while, but adaptation and implementation of choice is the very next step after the setting and specific goals, and then this process has to be supported by regular monitoring, regular evaluation. Mission, vision, strategic option, long term objectives, if they are set up and the follow up is not taken regularly, if the matrices are not developed to regularly check the movement of the organization, departments, functions, teams and employees, that strategy cannot get implemented. So, the regular evaluation is equally important aspect of a strategic management process. In the real life, you might have come across in many business organizations, if you ask what is your strategic document, many organizations may not have a strategic document, but organizations generally have a long term objective and they have a tentative theory based on which they wish to achieve those objectives. Strategy actually emerges in response to evolving situation, and as a result of that, one document may not remain relevant for a very long time, but there is a essential feature which is the interaction of the business and environment at the interface of which strategy evolves. Effective strategies combine deliberation and control with flexibility and organization learning. What it means? It means there is a equally important aspect called reflection at the organizational level along with action for strategy formulation. Organization once set up this strategy need to keep scanning the environment and should be flexible enough to change the course of action. Organization also have to keep learning, like individual which learn in order to cope up with environment, which learn in order to respond to the external stimulus or external stimuli, organizations also have to learn. Like individual, where learning may start with intuition or concrete experience and may lead to abstraction, conceptualization and experimentation, business organizations also can look at the learning in the form of their insights, in the form of observations of those insights, application of some of the actions arising out of those insights, and institutionalization of some of the systems processes within the organization. So, strategy is a dynamic process that includes reflection, learning, and has to have flexibility. A long term business strategy must be based on core idea about how the firm can best compete in marketplace. So, popular term for this core idea is called generic strategy. Generic strategies are generally of three types. You look at this slide column wise. So, there are three types of generic strategies proposed in the literature: the cost leadership, differentiation, and niche. According to the generic strategy, management processes and system are differently designed and implemented in any business organization. According to generic strategies, organizations and people working in those organizations require different sets of competencies and resources. So, now we will look at the different management processes, systems, competency and resource required to implement three different generic strategies. First is cost leadership. An organization following the cost leadership claims or aims at providing goods or services at the cost which no other competitor can provide in a particular market. So, naturally, the processes, the management processes and system in the organization following the cost leadership has to be efficiency driven. These organization operates on the economies of the scale, and in these organization following the processes masterfully, efficiently following the processes is the essence of the management system. So, we can also imagine what is the kind of competencies required in the management in an organization which is following the cost leadership. So, the first and foremost, the organizations following cost leadership has to operate at the tight cost control. They have to have a tight management control system as well to ensure to lock any pilferage in the resources. Generally, organizations following cost leadership has to have structured organizational responsibility. There has to be a predictability to enhance efficiency in any system, and that predictability comes with the clear structure of the organizational responsibility. It is also must be noted that organizations following the cost leadership generally measure their performance in the form of very objective and measurable parameters. In order to have objective and measurable parameters, organization responsibility have to properly structured and communicated. Second generic strategy is called differentiation. An organization following differentiation strategy aims at providing services or product which no other competitor can offer in the marketplace. So, naturally these organizations are innovation driven, they are generally driven by unique capability. Many of you might be thinking about Apple as an example which is following the strategy of differentiation. These are organizations which are generally engineering excellence. You see in the Apple products, they are engineering marvel as well as design marvel. When an organization is aiming at providing services or product which no other business organization is capable of providing in the marketplace, naturally they have to have a strong emphasis on R&D, but that R&D cannot be for the R&D sake, that R&D or research and development cannot be for just knowledge creation. It has to result into some product and services which customers must value. Because of this requirement, the R&D department of the organizations following differentiation strategy has to work in the very close collaboration with marketing department. They provide incentives to their managers and employees not on the efficiency, but they provide most valuable incentive to their managers and employees for value adding innovations. They have to be very flexible and have to develop agile organizational system. Third generic strategy is called niche or focused. When an organization is providing a service or product which is uniquely entertained, which is uniquely desirable by a niche of a market segment, just a slice of a huge market, we can call organization following the niche strategy. Niche strategy emerges at the combination towards a particular segment. So, whatever is most desirable for a particular segment, they closely build the association with the customers. That is why the customer intimacy is a very important feature of organization following the niche strategy. They consistently offer unique product, and within that segment they keep improving the product as well. Many of you might be thinking about some product like Harley Davidson, or in India Bullet. If you look at the total market size of the Harley Davidson in comparison to the general all motorbikes, that may not be very high, but their customer segment is very committed for that product, and this company, the Bullet or Harley Davidson, closely work with their customer segment in order to create the events, in order to build the community among themselves, etc. So, these are the examples of organizations following the niche generic strategy. Looking at this description, you can see how HR function will be very different in organizations following different generic strategy. For example, recruitment. Recruitment in an organization following cost leadership will look at the efficiency oriented parameters and competencies amongst its prospective employees, whereas a recruitment process in an organization following differentiation strategy will look at the innovativeness, will look at the high qualification and experience of developing novel things, thoughts, services or product in any new recruit in the organization. Organization following the niche strategy will aim at recruiting people who have a strong knowledge base about that particular niche or that particular product which organization is servicing or offering. Similarly, we can look at how the training and development function will be different in the organization following different generic strategy. So, if we take the example of training and development in the organization following cost leadership will be focused on efficiency, following the systems and processes, making people aware of the best practices, etc. Whereas, in the differentiation, the emphasis of training and development of the employees in the organizations will be about helping them to innovate more, helping them in creative thinking, etc. whereas the training and development function in an organization following the niche strategy will be aiming at making the employees more well versed and bring the employees closer to the preferences and needs of their segment which they are very specifically serving. Similarly, we can look at the functions like compensation management, time management, performance management system, etc., how they will be different in the organizations following different generic strategy. What are the deliverables of the HR function? We need to understand the deliverable for production function is to produce as many product as possible in as less time as possible. So, here we park our discussion on the connection of strategy and HR function. The next question is, if we have to assess the contribution of HR function to the whole organization, what will be the parameters? What are the deliverables of HR as a function? Like marketing deliverable is to market the product, like production department has a deliverable to produce the product and services in the most efficient way. In the same manner, what are the deliverables of HR function? So, deliverables for HR function are considered to be mindset, technical knowledge of the employees and behavior of the employees. Mindset is the combination of attitude, belief, commitment, motivation, morale of the employees. Technical knowledge is related to the specific technical knowledge and general technical knowledge required to function in an organization. And technical knowledge is not only related to the production or innovation, it can also be related to following the safety norms, or it can be also about following the simple processes and systems. Then comes the behavior. Organization member should behave in a way which is good for the team and for the organization. The role of HR is being influenced by some of the major changing elements in our environment. These changing elements or trends can be clubbed in the four broad streams: globalization trend, technological trends, trends in the nature of work, and workforce demographic changes. Globalization, we all know, is about sales or manufacturing of the services and product in the country outside of the country where the company was established. We know that globalization has been a major change force in last 80 years. World Trade Organization was formed to promote globalization or global trade. Intellectual property is also part of this global trade. There are some regional blocks also constituted to promote the inter-country trade and exchanges, like North American Federation or European Union. Globalization has increased competition and has given immense choices to the customers. As a result of that, customers are becoming more and more demanding, and that is putting pressure on the employees to offer their best and better always next time. Then there are some technological trends. Today's time is perhaps most interesting time in terms of technological developments and how the different technological developments are affecting all spheres of life. So, naturally HR function is also bound to be affected by the technological trends. Just one example, few decades ago, or say just 1 decade ago, most important source for recruitment used to be the manpower consultant or recruitment consultants. Now, can you think about who is the most reliable sourcing consultant for the organizations? That is not an animate organization, that is LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become one of the most sought after source, one of the most reliable source for identifying the potential recruits. Similarly, artificial intelligence and robotics are changing all aspects of the HR function. We can take example of an Indian company called Zing HR. They offer the cloud based HR services to their clients, and now they have also connected their function through based on AI and robotics. As a result of this, they are creating a self learning system. These are just examples of some of the technological trends which are affecting all aspects of the HR function, whether it is related to performance management system, recruitment, training and development, compensation management, etc. Nature of work is also changing in conjunction with the change and development of technology. Organizations like Ola, Uber, Allianz, these are the organizations of the so called employees which are not employees in a conventional sense. These employees choose the working hours for themselves, and they are loosely connected to the core organization. This is the change of the trends in the nature of work. Now, we see so much emphasis on working from home, using technology, particularly the information technology, to work from home and making work from home. We are also seeing the workforce demographic trends are changing. In any society, population follows a particular trend. Currently, India is a young society. The average age of India is about 28 years, but it is not going to remain same. In next 7-8 decades, the average age will be much more of India in comparison to what it is today. In that situation, we will require a different kind of HR systems and processes to support the aging workforce. This situation is already there in Japan, in many European countries. So, this is one kind of demographic, changing demographic. This is one kind of the change in the demographic trend, which will keep coming in few decades, or which will keep coming in different forms in different societies. Currently, we are also talking about generation X, generation Y, or called millennials, and their entry into the workforce. They are different in terms of their aspirations, in terms of their exposure, and as a result of that, their expectation from workplace and supervisors are different from the people of the earlier generation. This can be understood as a challenge, or must be understood as a inevitable trend in the workforce. So, these are the important trends which are affecting the human resource management function. I would like to point out some of the questions, some of the pointed questions, and each HR has to answer these questions to put up what value they are bringing to the business organization. Do employees know and understand the firm's strategy? This is first question HR must answer to itself and to the business leadership. Do employees know and understand the status of the firm's success with respect to the pursuit of that strategy? Do employees know and understand the firm's value proposition and how that is delivered in the marketplace? Do employees know and understand what they are to do, what is expected from them? Do employees believe they have the skills and knowledge necessary to do their job? Are employees provided the managerial support and support system to do a job to the best of their ability? We all know that India is enjoying the demographic dividend, meaning having a large pool of skilled large pool of the youth population, a working population, but that is not sufficient. The youth population also have to have strong skill sets which are relevant in the marketplace. HR has to keep asking within the organization, do people have appropriate skills and competencies to deliver what is expected from them? Last but not the least, what level of competency is necessary in strategic resource positions now? How many truly A players are in the A positions? Do we have the best people populating the most critical positions in the organization? Are our leaders behaving in the way that elicit followership? Nothing inspires more to the employees than leaders' behavior. So, HR need to look at the leaders as well as employees in terms of their behavior, their mindset and the competencies. If we compare the role of HR function on the template of business scorecard, we can see what are the different aspects of the performance of HR which will result into the different forms of success of the organization. We must recognize that success of the business organization is not only financial in nature. Success of the business organization is also about the success of their customers. Are they satisfied or not? Is the offering service or product is making their customer successful? Is it enhancing its well-being? Organization also look at the success in terms of the workforce success, meaning is workforce satisfied, is workforce high on morale, is workforce commitment and competent to deliver what is expected from them. Organization success also is determined by, it is based on business process success. It is the process based on which services or products are delivered. Business process has to keep evolving because market is changing and we have already looked at the different trends like globalization, technology, nature of work, etc., that is changing. In order to cope up with these changes, they need to look at organizations have to keep developing the business process, and business processes have to be the reflection of what is most desirable from the organization. So, HR need to contribute in all four aspects of the success of business organization. Let us look at some of the questions which are not only restricted or which are not only asked by the HR managers. If we look at some of the most prominent questions asked by line managers, these related to their team and related to the human resource, these questions are as following. HR manager as well as line manager keep looking for and keep asking which are the screening techniques that yield the best performing recruits. What is the return on investment of training? What target setting approach work best to motivate the performance? How to enhance the employee engagement? How to promote innovation at workplace? How to build positive climate at workplace? How to make people to behave in a safe manner? How to prepare leaders to inspire their team members? How to ensure that people follow systems, processes, norms, corporate governance related or ethics related at workplace? These questions are the one which takes maximum attention of the HR function, but these questions are not only of the HR functions, these questions are of all line managers as well. And if you think this sounds too academic, you must look at least these 2-3 there are many studies. Here we have incorporated only 2 studies. One study was commissioned, very large study commissioned by the Ernst & Young to look at the impact of HR processes or robustness or maturity of HR processes, and we will talk about maturity of the processes little later in the form of the competency maturity model. But this Ernst & Young study looked at the different intangible factors related to morale, related to motivation, leadership, leadership role modeling, etc. So these intangible things which generally come under the concern or ambit of HR function, they found that 30 to 40% of the market appreciation is due to the non-tangible factors in any industry. Then there is a very oft quoted Hewlett survey of someone about 1000 firms that indicates that alignment and integration of a firm's HR system play a very critical role, and they calculated that the contribution per employee increases by the degree or more than $40,000 in terms of the market capitalization with the better HR system. So these studies suggest that if we look at systematically, we can trace the impact of HR system on the tangible business results of organizations. And what are the results of poor HR practices? A poor HR practices may result in hiring the wrong person for the job, experiencing high employee turnover, have your people not doing their best, not giving their best, people wasting time with useless interviews, meetings, etc. Have your company in court because of the discriminatory action if we do not follow the rules and regulations which HR's responsibility is. Have your company cited by labor inspectors for unsafe practices. Ensuring safety is one of the most important functions of HR, particularly in the manufacturing setting. Have some employees think their salaries are unfair and unequitable relative to others in the organization, so they will not perceive their organization just. Allow a lack of training to undermine your department's effectiveness, and it may also result in committing any unfair labor practices. We can further examine what are the financial implications of these HR these results. For example, hiring the wrong person for the job. We can imagine the financial implication of a wrong hire. We can also, and now there are systematic studies looking at how the employee turnover affects the financial health of the organization, because when one employee leaves, it takes about 6 months for the replacement employee to be as productive as an average employee in an organization. So organization has to invest not only 1 month's salary to hire one more executive, but they have to invest time, training cost is also involved to make the person as effective or average on at the effective at the average level for any new employee in the organization. Likewise, we can look at the financial implication of people not giving their best, people wasting time, the financial implication involved in the lawsuits because of discriminatory practices or because of the poor industrial relation practices. Likewise, so result of poor HR practices are very horrible. No organization would like to have these things, to experience these situations in their functioning. I will be giving few examples of some of the organizations which have very beautifully connected strategy and HR function. So, first example comes from AT&T. AT&T's Human Resource Leadership Council is a very interesting body within their organization. This is an interdisciplinary body which is comprises of the members from the corporate executives, HR, strategic business unit, production, delivery, business support, so on and so forth. So, they are kind of the microcosm representing the macrocosm called AT&T, and this leadership council focuses on the long term strategic HR issues. So, HR issues are not only examined by the HR function, it is being examined by the microcosm of the organization, and corporate strategic planning council is also work closely with the leadership council. So, this is one way AT&T has integrated HR and leadership function. Mahindra AFS is another example. I would like to quote their particular activity or initiative called Search for a Strategist. So, Search for a Strategist is aimed at bringing out the best in every employee, and it has created an open platform. So, open opportunity means this opportunity is available to employees of all the functions and at all levels. People can give ideas, they can form teams. This open platform also helps in formation of the teams of the people passionate about similar ideas. Teams work on those ideas to improve the organization, improve the systems and processes, and in turn which can improve the business results. They present the ideas to the senior management, and through Search for a Strategist, the name of the process, the employees are encouraged to look at the problem from the business perspective, of course not only from the individual perspective or departmental perspective, and give important solutions. Giving the strategic perspective and proposing innovation in systems, processes and offerings which can be valuable from the strategic perspective of the organization. So, this is one way, this is another way Mahindra AFS has helped in unleashing the strategic thinking of the employees, and this is also one way they have connected HR process and the strategic thinking process in the organization. SAS is another example because of its open book management policy. What is the open book management policy? It is about keeping the employee informed about various changes, facilities, procedures that are incorporated in the company. This philosophy is used by management to engage its employees and make them feel that they are valued, and that is why the management always wants to keep them informed. One more advantage of this is that it generates an open line of the communication in contrast to the traditional top down communication, and that makes the employee more organization friendly. This also gives all employees an opportunity to raise and express their concern. If you present all the information related to the employees in the open forum, people get chance to interact with each other, and that interaction may result in more insights about that system. Another example is of the Marico. Marico have formalized a focus area under the themes of climate change, resource optimization, corporate citizenship. A tracking mechanism for sustainability performance is developed and a review system is also being established around these three areas. We can take example of Bon-Ton chain, which has more than 280 department stores in USA, that leverage its data to identify attributes that make the cosmetics sales representative more successful. What they found is the cognitive ability and the situational judgment and initiative taking. These are the most important attributes of the sales executives or sales representatives in the organization. This is the result of a thorough analysis of the data, which is now possible with the availability of many softwares related to analytics. So, they calculated that there is an increase of the $1,400 in sales per representative per month and 25% lower turnover if they focus more on these three things. So, we have looked at some of these examples where strategic concerns or strategic objectives or strategic thinking of the organization was beautifully converged or integrated with the HR function. In order to understand what is considered to be the mature HR function, what can be considered to be a high quality HR function, a framework can be very useful. That framework is called competency maturity model in terms of the people function. That is why it is called PCMM. Many of you must be aware about the CMM, very popular in the software industry. All CMM are constructed with the 5 levels of maturity. One maturity level is actually reflection of an evolutionary plateau at which one or more domains of organizational processes have been transformed to achieve a new level of organizational capability. A maturity level consists of related practices for a predefined set of process areas that improve the organization's overall performance. Thus, an organization achieves a new level of maturity when a system of practices has been established or transformed to provide capabilities and results the organization did not have at the previous levels. Method of transformation is different at each level, that requires capabilities to be established at the earlier levels, and consequently each maturity level provides a foundation of practices on which practices at subsequent maturity levels can be built. In order to be true CMM, the maturity framework underlying a model must use the principles established in the process maturity framework for transforming the organization at each level. So, in the nutshell, maturity level represents a new level of organizational capability created by the transformation of one or more domains of organization's process. So, let us look at the people competency maturity model. The people CMM applies the principles of the process maturity framework to the domain of the workforce practices or HR functions. Each of the people CMM's 5 maturity level present a different level of organizational capability for managing and developing the workforce. Each maturity level provides a layer in the foundation for continuous improvement and equips the organization with increasingly powerful tools for developing the capability of its workforce. So, first we need to understand the so this is represented in this pictorial form. Each level is the combination of the people, process and technology. CMM looks at any function as a combination of people, process and technology. There are 5 principal combinations possible in any model of CMM and also in the people CMM. Level 1 reflects the inconsistent management. That means, if we take the example of recruitment, recruitment today happens in some process, tomorrow for some other employee it may happen in some other way. Performance management for one employee happening in some way, or it is not happening in the same way for other employees. So, or in 1 year performance management is done in some form, and on another year performance management or performance appraisal is done in some other form. So, first level, the most basic level is about inconsistent management practices. Second level is related to the repeatable practices, meaning from the inconsistency organization reaches to some level of consistency in its process and systems. So, from level 1 to level 2, what are the processes we have to look at? Please note that CMM is based on a basic understanding that no organization cannot create very high level of mature processes, maybe HR or maybe any other processes, without having a certain set of prerequisite sets of the a priori required processes. So, one level of process can come up only on the basis of certain kind of lower level of processes. So, from the initial level, managed level is about the repeatable process, and in that process they look at the compensation, training, performance management, staffing, communication and work environment. So, from initial level to the repeatable level, organization has to have clear processes and systems about these 6 activities or HR functions. Level 3 in the CMM is a very important level, because at this level organization operates at the sound framework of the people competencies. For the repeatable level, organizations need not to have the detailed competency map required at any level for any employee. But for level 3, organization has to have a very strong clear competency framework related to all the levels of the employees, and all the processes gets aligned with that competency requirement. So, here they identify the primary competencies and align the workforce activities with them. And what are those activities? Those activities are competency based practices like career development, workforce planning, knowledge and skill analysis. As a result of it, a participatory culture is developed. You can notice that participatory culture, career development and workforce planning, that is not possible until level 2, until repeatable level, which is about compensation, training, performance management are not achieved. When organization achieves and imbibes level 3, meaning what? Level 3 meaning when organization has a good framework of the competencies properly documented for the different employees working at different hierarchical levels, and when their processes of the compensation, training, PMS etc. are aligned to these competency, then organization is ready to move to the level 4, that is called managed level. At this level, there is a quantitatively managed organizational growth in the workforce capability. This is the stage where organization performance is aligned to individual performance. There are team based activities, there are team based practices. Mentoring process is set as a organizational process, not the individual initiative. Mentoring, coaching becomes the process of mentoring becomes the part of the organizational process. So, organization performance can become little more predictable. We can predict how organization can perform based on the aggregation of the individual competency or the performance competency gap or the competency required to achieve certain level of performance. Not only that, a team aggregation of the competence at the competency level is also possible at level 4, or better way of saying is when organization is capable of telling about the performance at the team level and organizational level based on the aggregation of the individual level competencies and performance, then we can say organization is at the level 4, or which is called the managed level. Last but not the least is level 5, which is called optimizing. Optimizing or CMM level 5 is that capability of organization wherein change, innovation, learning, adaptation of the new process, new systems become inbuilt in the organizational process and system. So, the coaching and the personal competency development becomes the regular features of the organizational functioning. Level 5 organization are supposed to be the organization which have built the capability of renewing themselves according to the need of the environment and need of the organization. No organization as said can achieve level 5 without achieving all 4 levels. There is a robust documentation process, and there are a lot of organizations, consulting organizations, which help business organizations to achieve the PCMM at different levels. So, I explained the PCMM in order to convey that HR, there is no one HR function. HR function can be there in organization at different level of maturity. Maturity level of HR function facilitates the organizations to attain their strategic objectives. Here we come to the conclusion of the first session or the introductory session of the HRM course. We looked at HR is not one homogeneous or one type of function. HR function can vary in its flavor according to the nature of the organization and the stage of organizational growth. HR role can be of 4 types: strategic partner, change agent, employee champion and administrative expert. For organizations to achieve their strategic objectives, they need to modify, they need to adapt the HR systems and processes. There is a huge cost of not following HR systems and processes. That cost in the form of intangible losses as well as tangible losses. But there are systems and processes with which HR can be made truly a strategic partner, a change agent, a administrative expert and employee champion for its employees or for the organization. PCMM is one framework we discussed, which is readily available framework. Following that, an organization can evolve, can develop its HR function. Thank you very much. We will see you in the next session. Namaste.